The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked asphalt of Highway 9, where faded blue 1998 Honda Civic sat pulled over on the shoulder. Steam rose lazily from under its dented hood, and the driver, a black man in his late 50s, wearing a worn flannel shirt and paint-stained jeans, stood beside the vehicle with his hands visible, waiting patiently. Officer Derek Mitchell stepped out of his patrol car, his polished boots hitting the pavement with authority. At 32, Mitchell had been with the Millbrook Police Department for 8 years, long enough to develop what he considered street smarts about the kind of people who drove beat-up cars through his jurisdiction. "Well, well," Mitchell said, adjusting his aviator sunglasses as he approached. "What do we have here?" The older man turned slightly, his weathered hands remaining at his sides. "Good afternoon, officer. My car overheated, so I pulled over safely, just waiting for it to cool down." Mitchell's eyes swept over the man's appearance, the frayed collar, the scuffed work boots, the calloused hands that spoke of manual labor. Everything about this guy screamed trouble waiting to happen. The officer had seen it 1,000 times before. "License and registration," Mitchell demanded, his tone already dismissive. What Officer Mitchell didn't know was that the man standing before him was FBI Special Agent Marcus Washington, a 25-year veteran of the Bureau who currently headed the Internal Affairs Division for police misconduct cases in 3 counties. Washington had been driving back from an undercover investigation when his personal vehicle, deliberately chosen for its unremarkable appearance, had broken down. Agent Washington reached slowly into his wallet, pulling out his driver's license while maintaining his calm demeanor. He'd been in situations like this more times than he cared to count, both professionally and personally. The difference was, today he was working. Mitchell examined the license with exaggerated scrutiny, taking his time while Washington waited in the blazing heat. "Marcus Washington," he read aloud, his voice dripping with mock formality. "And what brings you through our fine community today, Marcus?" "Just passing through, officer. As I mentioned, my car overheated." "Uh-huh." Mitchell's smirk widened. "You know, funny thing about overheated cars, they tend to belong to people who can't afford proper maintenance. Can't say I'm surprised." Washington's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but his voice remained steady. "Is there a specific traffic violation you're citing me for, officer?" The question caught Mitchell off guard for a moment. Most people in this situation would be stammering, apologizing, trying to please him. This guy had an oddly confident way of speaking, almost like he was used to asking the questions instead of answering them. "Matter of fact, there might be," Mitchell said, his irritation growing. "Let's start with that expired inspection sticker I can see from here." Washington glanced at his windshield, where the inspection sticker was clearly current. "Officer, that sticker expires next month. It's valid." Mitchell stepped closer, his hand resting on his belt near his taser. "Are you calling me a liar?" "I'm simply stating a fact that you can verify by reading the date on the sticker." The calm, measured response only fueled Mitchell's anger. He'd expected submission, fear, the usual dance of deference he was accustomed to. Instead, this guy was talking to him like they were equals. What Mitchell couldn't see was the small recording device clipped inside Washington's shirt pocket, or the fact that the FBI agent had already memorized his badge number and patrol car identification. A second patrol car pulled up behind Mitchell's vehicle, and Officer Sarah Chin stepped out. She'd worked with Mitchell before and knew his tendencies, but she also knew better than to intervene unless things went too far. "Back up, Mitchell," Washington asked quietly. "Just making sure we handle this properly," Mitchell replied, his confidence bolstered by Chen's presence. "Now, I'm going to need you to place your hands on the vehicle while I search it." "On what grounds, officer?" Mitchell's face flushed red. The question was asked without hostility, almost academically, but it cut straight to the heart of his authority. "Suspicious behavior, evasive answers, and I don't like your attitude. I've answered every question you've asked truthfully and completely. Put your hands on the car." "Now." Washington complied, placing his palms flat against the hot metal of his car's roof. Mitchell began an aggressive pat-down, his hands rough and invasive, clearly intended to humiliate rather than search for weapons. "You know what your problem is," Mitchell said, his voice loud enough for passing motorists to hear. "You people think you can just drive through here like you own the place. Well, this is my beat, and I decide who gets respect and who gets reminded of their place." Officer Chin shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing. "Tell me something," Mitchell continued, his face inches from Washington's ear. "What do you do for work? Let me guess, day labor? Janitor? Something that requires you to keep your mouth shut and do what you're told." Washington's knuckles went white against the car's surface, but his voice remained controlled. "I work in law enforcement." Mitchell burst out laughing, a harsh sound that echoed off the nearby guardrail. "Law enforcement. That's rich. What? You're a security guard at the mall." He turned to Chun. "You hear this guy? He thinks being a rent-a-cop makes him law enforcement." The humiliation was complete and public. Several cars had slowed to watch the spectacle, their occupants seeing a middle-aged black man being degraded by a white police officer who seemed to be enjoying every moment of it. But Washington had heard enough. The line had been crossed not just legally, but morally. The racial profiling, the assumption of criminality, the public humiliation. It was exactly the kind of police misconduct his division was tasked with investigating and stopping. What Mitchell didn't realize was that he had just committed career suicide. If you are enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means a lot to us. We are just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you. And back to the video. "Officer Mitchell," Washington said, his voice taking on a new quality, one of unmistakable authority. "I need you to step back." Something in the tone made Mitchell pause. The submissive posture was gone, replaced by something that made the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Washington slowly reached into his front shirt pocket and withdrew a leather wallet. He flipped it open, revealing a gold badge and identification card that made Mitchell's blood run cold. "Special Agent Marcus Washington, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Internal Affairs Division." Washington's voice cut through the afternoon, heat like a blade. "And you, Officer Mitchell, have just provided me with a textbook example of racial profiling, abuse of authority, and violation of civil rights under color of law." The color drained from Mitchell's face. Officer Chin took an involuntary step backward, her hand moving instinctively toward her radio. That can't be." Mitchell stammered. "Can't be what?" "Can't be real." Washington pocketed his credentials and fixed Mitchell with a stare that had intimidated hardened criminals in federal courtrooms. "Or it can't be that you just racially profiled and illegally searched an FBI agent who specializes in police misconduct cases." The irony was so perfect, it was almost beautiful. Mitchell had stopped the one person in 3 counties whose entire job was to investigate officers exactly like him. "Sir, I didn't know." Mitchell's voice cracked. "You didn't know because you made assumptions based on my race, my car, and my clothes," Washington said, his calm tone more terrifying than any shout. "You assumed I was someone you could humiliate without consequences. You were wrong." Washington gestured to the body camera clearly visible on Mitchell's chest. "I assume that's been recording this entire encounter?" Mitchell's hand moved reflexively to the camera, his face going pale. Every word, every action, every illegal search and racist comment had been captured in high definition. "Officer Chun," Washington addressed the second officer, who had remained silent throughout the encounter. "I'll need you to preserve all body camera footage from this incident. This is now a federal investigation." "Yes, sir," Chun replied immediately, her professional training overriding her shock. Washington turned back to Mitchell. "You asked me what I do for work. I investigate police officers who abuse their authority and violate citizens' civil rights. I've been doing it for 15 years, and in that time, I've seen careers destroyed and officers prosecuted for far less than what you just did." Mitchell's knees nearly buckled. His pension, his career, his reputation, everything was crashing down around him because he couldn't see past his own prejudices. "The recording device in my pocket captured our entire conversation," Washington continued, Combined with your body camera footage, we have a complete record of this encounter. Your department will receive my full report by tomorrow morning." By now, several motorists had stopped to witness the stunning reversal. The same people who had seen Mitchell humiliate Washington were now watching the officer's world collapse in real time. "Agent Washington," Chin said quietly, "is there anything you need from me?" "Just ensure the footage is preserved and that your supervisor receives a complete incident report. I'll be filing my own report with your department's Internal Affairs Division and the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division." Washington walked back to his car, which had cooled down during the encounter. The engine started on the first try, a small miracle that felt fitting given the circumstances. As he prepared to leave, Mitchell approached the driver's side window, his face ashen and desperate. "Agent Washington, please. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Is there any way we can?" Washington looked at him through the open window. "Officer Mitchell, you didn't make a mistake. You revealed your character. There's a difference." He put the car in drive and pulled away, leaving Mitchell standing on the shoulder of Highway 9, his career effectively over. 3 weeks later, Officer Derek Mitchell was terminated from the Millbrook Police Department. His body camera footage became part of a training video used throughout the State Police Academy, showing exactly how not to conduct a traffic stop. Agent Washington's report triggered a comprehensive review of the Millbrook Police Department's practices, leading to mandatory bias training, updated protocols for traffic stops, and the implementation of early warning systems to identify officers showing patterns of misconduct. Officer Chun, who had maintained her professionalism throughout the encounter, was promoted to sergeant and placed in charge of the department's new community outreach program. Mitchell's case became a federal prosecution for civil rights violations. He was convicted and sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years of probation, during which he was prohibited from working in law enforcement. The incident sparked wider conversations about racial profiling and police accountability. Washington later testified before Congress about the need for federal oversight of local police departments, using his encounter with Mitchell as a prime example of how unconscious bias could lead to illegal behavior. For Washington, it was just another day in his decades-long fight for justice. But for everyone who witnessed the encounter, either in person or through the widely shared body camera footage, it served as a powerful reminder that respect and dignity are not privileges to be earned, but rights to be protected. And sometimes justice comes from the most unexpected places, delivered by the most unlikely messengers, to those who need the lesson most. True authority doesn't come from a uniform or a badge. It comes from character, integrity, and the courage to do what's right even when no one is watching. Officer Mitchell learned this lesson the hard way, but the community learned something far more valuable, that accountability can come from anywhere, and that justice, though sometimes delayed, is never truly denied.